We're live.
Welcome and thank you for choosing freeconferencecall.com. You're helping people around the world communicate for free. Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. Access code or phone number you have dialed is incorrect. Please check your credentials and try again. If you are the host, please enter your... Thank you. There are 3 participants in the conference. Please announce yourself.
Victor Sandinowski, City Manager, City Harbor Springs.
Matt Bagara, Mayor. John Cups, Council Member.
Yeah, can you push that?
John Leo, Council Member.
Yeah, push that this way, towards you. There you go.
Just a second, I will, Victor, I got Mr. Turkus on the phone. You want to talk to him? He can't get logged in. Just on speakerphone.
Hey, Mike. How's it going?
Just trying to get logged in.
On the phone?
Yep.
Yep, did you dial the number on the toll-free number?
No, I'm looking for the damn thing.
So if it's on the first page on the agenda, you got the agenda?
Cece's here.
Hi, CC. Hi, CC. Hi, CC.
Hi.
Good evening, men.
All your boys are here waiting for you. Yeah.
Or I can just tell you what to type in right now.
Did I hear John Leo?
Yes.
I'm here.
Okay, yeah, so the toll-free number is 844.
We're just waiting for the Turkus to figure out how to dial in.
4444. And the access code is 456985.
456985.
Yes.
Okay, I'll call him
All right, thanks. Wait for Mike there. You guys don't want to look at yourself up there real quick, the packet.
I think I got cleaned up. Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll remind you what you guys are doing.
Mike Maturkis.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Mike, you made it.
I did, in the flesh.
All right, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Nick, can you call the roll, please?
Matt Bagara.
Here.
John Cups.
Here.
John Leo.
Here.
Mike Naturkis.
Here.
And CC Johnston.
I'm here.
We do have a quorum.
Okay, question, John Leo. Is the video live?
Yes.
Okay, I can't find it. I'm on the City of Harbor Springs website, YouTube site. Do other people have video?
Well, we have 6 people that showed up. They're watching right now. It's 7.
You may need to refresh the page, John.
Yeah, try refreshing the
Refresh the page.
It should say 4/20 or April 20th City Council meeting.
Got it.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Minutes from the March 16th meeting. Has everyone had a chance to look at them? I didn't have a problem.
I gotta go.
Do any of the council members have any questions about the minutes from the March
I do not.
16th?
Make a motion to approve. I'll second the motion.
Second that.
John Leo, second.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Very good. And I don't know what we're doing about the bills?
Oh, the March 31st special minutes.
Oh, okay.
Those are good.
Yeah, March 31st, special meeting minutes. Any comments?
Nope.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve.
Okay.
Need a second? I'll second it.
Mapagera seconds. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. The minutes have passed. And the bills, how are we working the bills? We're not?
The bill.
I came down earlier.
Okay.
Bills are good with the exception of a $1 mistake, which was taken care of. So, motion to pay the bills.
Very good. I'll second the motion to pay the bills. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Go. All right, now the fun part. Let's try some citizens' comment.
So yeah, if there's anyone on the phone, let me just go over the rules here a little bit. For citizen comments, if there's something you want to talk about that's not on the agenda, especially anything related to the COVID-19 updates and issues, don't bring them up during the citizen comments. We will be talking about coronavirus updates during the city manager section. So if you could wait for those comments to that section. As with the rest of the agenda, council members on the agenda will get to go and speak first. I will call each of them individually, and then I will open it up to the public by phone first, and then by YouTube through chat. So right now, I will open it up to any citizen comments for something not on the agenda by the phone. And if you're going to speak, please say your name first.
How come I'm getting a repeat of everything that is being said?
So someone should be, if you're not speaking, you should be muting your phones right now.
It might be John Leo watching the video.
And if you're watching the video,
You might need to turn the sound down.
and if you're on the phone, you might want to turn the sound down on the video if you're doing both. Does that work better, CC?
Yeah, there's no echo now.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
put on their video.
Okay, so we got that figured out. So anyone on the phone that has any comments? Hearing none, we'll go to see if YouTube. Just a comment of having those on phone mute unless they want to talk. So we've done that.
All right. All right, well, before we jump into the city manager's section, I'd just like to thank everyone in town who's been doing a great job social distancing, wearing masks at the post office, and living by the new rules that we're stuck with. And keep up the good work, and hopefully we'll get through this sooner than later. And now I'll turn it over to Victor.
Thanks, Mayor. The first item on the agenda is the COVID-19 updates and issues. So I gave council a packet of information with about a dozen or so different issues that we've been facing as a city, minor and major issues and things that we've been dealing with the governor's order. Of course, it's not an extensive list of issues. It's just some of the bigger ones that have popped up. And I'll just really quickly go through, summarize them. I won't go through the whole report. You should all have that and have read it. And after I go through this brief summary, I'll turn it over to the council members to see if they want to specifically talk about any of these issues, whether they want to take any action on any of these issues beyond what the cities has already done, or if they just want to hold off on those. So you all know that we've established a crisis action team, and I've been using that to help staff make decisions. It's worked out, especially in the first few weeks. It really helped us out as we had to respond rapidly to a lot of evolving events. We've kind of slowed down right now with the crisis action team meetings and stuff because we've just seen a slowdown in general of issues. City finances, unless Clerk Whitaker wants to add something different, I believe we're doing well financially right now. We've had no major expenses or payments. We've had some small purchases such as for PPE stuff, but nothing major. Utility payments due date. When this first started, we extended the deadline for utility bills to May 15th. Most people are still paying their bills, if I'm correct, but there's obviously some who have expressed thanks for the need because they needed the need to they couldn't afford to pay their bills right now. A question that we have is, should the city extend the due date again? Because, May 15th is coming up, but people are still out of work and the order is still being extended. So that's one question that I believe the council could consider. Another question is events. So the organizers of events in several cities are canceling some of the major events. As you probably all read, the Venetian Festival in Charlevoix, the Cherry Festival in Traverse City. And really, I've had some organizers of events contact me and they've asked, well, what is the city's position on this? Other cities in northern Michigan, for the most part, it's been the organizers of events canceling them due to a combination of reasons. One is they just don't know what's the social distancing rules and situation will be like in the summer, so they don't have enough time to prepare to get contracts, vendors, and et cetera. So, and they also don't want to be igniting a public health issue once we've kind of flattened it. So there's been, some real cancellations going on. A lot of them, most of them have been driven by the organizers of those events. My question I posed to council really was, should the city council, provide any further guidance on canceling events through a certain time frame, or should we just stick with the state's guidelines of whatever the state does? So if the state decides to, still have social distancing in place throughout the summer, we just say, you can't have more than X amount of people at a public place because that's what the state says, or do we want to go beyond that? So that's just my little summary about events. Of course, there's a lot more to it. City projects, we're going on with a few projects, as you read there, West 3rd Street, Pennsylvania Avenue, replacing and raising electrical pedestals, installing the gravel drive for dock and dredge. We've all determined that these are essential projects because they help maintain our critical infrastructure. There are other projects that we're bidding out for, Lakeshore Drive rebuild. That's our electric project. Some of the smaller projects, though, are on hold, such as the ferry dock installation. That's been delayed for up to 6 weeks. The tree base project, we're doing it administratively, but we're not going to start ending the work until obviously the fall. And there's some other orders there. There's been a lot of questions by the public, why is the city doing work, when construction has been banned? Well, Section 6 and 9 of the executive order essentially allow the city to do public works operations and road infrastructure improvements and et cetera. So we're exempted from many of those parts of the stay home order. And I just want to clarify that. However, I also want to give council the opportunity to see if they have any concerns about projects that we are not moving forward with. Summer boating, something that we're still not sure about right now. No power boating is allowed, but that could be lifted, in May or June. So the Harbor Springs kind of tackled some questions the Harbor Commission tackled some questions related to summer boating and the impacts that will have on the city. And we'll get to one of those items later on in the agenda about transient boater rates. We also decided as staff and Harbor Commission agreed to suspend the use it or lose it rule for the seasonal holders, because if they can't get out here to boat, or if they have other hindrances for them coming up here, we don't want to punish them for not being able to come up here. Right now, everyone's paid for their seasonal slips. There may be an issue in the future if boating is not allowed in the summer, whether those should be refunded or not. So that's just something to consider. Electronic telemeetings, you guys know we've been doing this. I just pose if there's any other suggestions for improving these remote meetings, knowing that we have to allow the maximum and broadest amount of access to these meetings for the public. There's other event modes that people use in mediums to have online meetings, but they're not as easy for the public to participate in as a multiple. What we're doing here was YouTube plus telephone conference. Short-term rentals, we instituted a moratorium on 31st, as you know. The governor then, in her second stay-home order, prohibited travel to vacation rentals until April 30th. So, and that could be potentially longer if the governor extends that, if she chooses to. So we still need to meet on May 4th to decide whether to extend or lift that moratorium. But it's just something to know that the governor has banned travel to vacation homes in her second stay-home order. Parks, we've had a lot of questions about these early on, about the use of parks. We decided to keep ours open based on state's recommendation, or state allowing people to do outdoor recreation and the state keeping their state parks open. We've increased enforcement at the parks. We've put signage, we put caution tape around the play equipment to do our best to promote public health, but we also want to give our residents a place to exercise in the city so they don't get in their cars and travel elsewhere to exercise. However, council can instruct us to do something different if they would like to see something different with the parks. Traveling between residences, I'm sure you all know now that the governor has put a moratorium on traveling between residences. We did that. We made an ask on March 25th. The crisis action team, we didn't tell people they couldn't come up there, but we asked them to consider the implications. Most people respected that, and we got some people who were upset. But now with the governor's order, that's in her hands now that she said that they can't come up here. Two bigger issues that we've been dealing with are landscaping and residential contract work. We are enforcing the governor's orders on landscaping mostly by educating people and responding to calls that landscaping and residential home improvement work that's not necessary to maintain the safety, sanitation, or essential fabric of the home or the property is not allowed. But we're going to open it up to council to see if there's any specific provisions of that executive order that you want staff or the police department to focus less or more on. There's some there's some things like I put in here about trimming a potentially hazardous tree on someone's property. It could be, if there's a hazardous tree, but you can't take it off the property because landscape is not allowed, and that tree falls on someone or something, that poses a problem or could pose a safety problem. So we're just seeking some more guidance, and if you want us to do anything differently than what we've been doing, or we should wait. For enforcement, see Chief Knight's attached memo, and I attached that. He had a good summary of what they've been responding to and what they've been dealing with. Staff hours, except for police officers, most staff hours have either been reduced or staff is working from home. And these hours were reduced and to comply with the governor's orders. Our employees are still coming in as needed, a few days, for some of them, a few days a week, and still working from home. But as statewide restrictions ease, we'll definitely look at gradually introducing normalcy back into City Hall. New hires, we've hired a Parks and Rec director and a police officer. The Parks and Rec director is Dennis McDermott, and the police officer is Mitchell McPherson. Dennis is beginning tomorrow. Mitchell started last week. We've also conducted and made an offer for an electric lineman position so we can bring our linemen back up to 5. We've been down to 4 for about 5 months, 6 months now. And finally, council, to talk about any longer term impact and other issues, and that's mostly on the economic, effects of this and potential public health effects of this. Are there code changes we could make? If landscape is not allowed for a couple more months, are we going to give people a pass on trimming their grass or et cetera? I think those things are pretty reasonable. Other longer term things like, all right, how are we going to revive tourism once this is all over, or will that be a problem or not? We just don't know. But there's, will businesses survive? Should we or shouldn't we help them? These are questions I think council could tackle right now, or we can wait to see if we have some more real concrete ramifications of what's going on here. So with that, even though it's a pretty long summary there and there's a lot to talk about, I'll first open it up to Mayor Bagheera if there's anything in particular he wants to talk about.
Let's say I'm on, part of the crisis action team, and we've been through all this stuff. I'm pretty happy with the decisions we've made so far, and I believe we should probably wait until the end of the month when we see what the governor's next move is as far as adjusting it. But I think everything's working fine the way it is now.
Okay, good. Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Cups?
I agree with Matt, and thank you for putting all that together. My only thing would be with landscaping and things like that, but we're a week away from the end of the month. Mm-hmm. So we'll have a lot better idea, and then we can get with I think Kyle, where he can talk with Pete, and depending on what the governor's orders are, if we can look at some alternatives to maybe relax some things to where we can get, because I noticed there's some other areas that are kind of going against wishes, for the greater good of things. So I think we might be able to get through this month, and then we can reevaluate where things go from there.
Thank you, Councilmember Cups. Councilmember Johnston.
One thing I think we should do now is to extend the payment for utilities, at least until the middle of June.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Johnston. Councilmember Leo.
Okay, I agree with CC that we should extend the payment. Do we have any idea how much I guess it's a technical delinquency, but do we have an idea how much has not been paid and how much it might be in another month?
It's been very minimal. I'd probably say less than 5%.
Oh, well, less.
Well, less than 5%. Probably just a couple percent hasn't been paid of our total, what we normally would get.
Yeah, then I would definitely agree with extending that. I think it's in an era where we can do very little to help people immediately. I think that's something that makes a lot of sense to do. As far as events and cancellations, I think our philosophy should be conservative overall. I agree with waiting for another 10 days to see what the governor might do, but we should be thinking what the city wants to do overall, not necessarily independent of, but certainly considering our local environment and economy. We're not Detroit, we're not a large city, and we need to factor that in. I certainly would not feel comfortable with events that would attract people to town from out of town in the time frame that it would take to get to the 4th of July. I don't think we're going to have the tools we need to feel safe attracting people to town. And until testing is available, I think we really need to err on the side of safety and conservatism. The list of city projects seems perfectly reasonable, and we should continue to do that. On the boating side, again, waiting for the governor to see what they do. But I think that small craft, fishing craft, single engine craft might make a lot of sense to let out into the bay. Short-term rentals, nothing. Contractors, landscaping particular, again, wait till the end of the month. But I have a feeling that if we don't allow landscapers to do maintenance work, I'm not talking about putting in new yards and planting trees and beautifying, but a lot of people in Harbor Springs don't even have a mower. I've run into maybe 10 people that I've talked to that they don't even have a mower because they rely on landscape professionals to do it. And I could easily see professionals handling their crews responsibly, keeping distance, and still being able to go back to work. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Leo. Councilmember Nachurkis.
Well, what John was just saying, just about everything that John said is pretty much how I would have laid it out. The only thing is that with John Cups, what he was saying about maybe we need to get back together, after the 1st and see where we can loosen up different things, even if it's on our own. The whole idea of doing the landscapers, even some of the builders, I mean, there's small pods of people that work together every day, day in and day out. And if we can get that crew back to work, I think those guys, I think it would be in the right direction. You know what I mean? And playing it safe. But as far as like get-togethers, like big, the beer festival and stuff like that, I personally wouldn't cancel anything yet. I would wait and let's see, because we can pull the rug out from underneath it pretty last minute if we need to. I think everybody's going to kind of expect that stuff to happen. But that's sort of my opinion. I don't know. I guess I just wouldn't cancel everything yet. I think we should wait and see what's going on week to week and go from there. But I do think we should get together at the end of this month, though, and discuss if what we can do to loosen it up a little bit. So I've got.
Thank you, Councilmember Turkis. And that's the governor's order lifts on Thursday, April 30th, and then we meet on Monday, May 4th. So that would give us,
Perfect.
that would give us good
That
time.
sounds good. It's good timing.
Yeah, that's good.
I'll just circle back here. Councilmember Bagheera, I guess you heard a couple of issues. One about was extending the payments of June 15th through June 15th. And then I'm waiting until Monday for May 4th's meeting for the rest of the issues.
Yeah, I think make that an agenda item for May 4th. And,
Agreed.
we can move forward on that.
Councilmember Cups agrees. Councilmember Johnston, anything to add?
No, I thought John Leo did an excellent job, and I agree with most of what he said.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnston. Councilmember Leo, anything else to add?
Well, I agree with Councilmember Johnson.
Well,
All
I
or
wrote
just
John.
most?
I wrote John's speech, so I already knew it.
All right, Councilmember Naturkis, so I'm not going to go back to you then. So this is.
Thank you. Thank you
All
very
right.
much, sir.
Is there anyone now from the public that's on the phone that has any comments? And if you do, please state your name first. Hearing no comments from anyone on the phone, I will go to the
Margot got it.
YouTube live chat, and from Margot Demus, I support the extension of utility payments. Many businesses and individuals are still in the process of receiving some or all the relief money loans available to them. And then Sales Keller Caretaking says with a proper plan of action utilizing mitigation strategies. Anyone that's here, staff, Chief Knight, or zoning administrator? Chief Knight, you got something to say?
No, I agree. I think we should wait. I agree. I think we should wait till the governor's orders at the end of the month, and then we revisit it May 4th. Enforcement on our end has been very good. The people we've spoken to that have been working have stopped, and everybody's been very appreciative of us doing the job we do it. You read in my memo just that we are education enforcement. So far, we have not had to take any enforcement. So everything's been education. So I think if we wait till the end of the month, and hopefully we move forward from there.
Thank you, Chief Knight. And we have another comment from Michael Karanicki. What would be a drop dead date for cancellation of events like July 4th?
June.
So I will circle it back to the Mayor Bagheera.
Yeah, I would think from a city standpoint, probably June 1st. For the 4th of July, we've got Festival of the Book coming up in September. It might be a different story at that point, but I think right now.
As far as 4th of July, we'd look at canceling the parade, probably fireworks.
Yeah, probably all of it, because it's so,
It's gonna be hard to police,
yeah,
Kyle. I mean, depending on how things are, Kyle will have his hands full just policing
right.
people, let
You have
alone.
to call the National Guard and
Mike.
it gets so busy in town.
Just so you know, we do have a meeting on June 1st, actually.
Oh, do we?
Do
The
it.
council meeting on June 1st.
All right.
So we do have a meeting on June 1st.
Okay.
For those that couldn't hear, Chief Knight. Councilmember Johnston, anything to add?
No.
Councilmember Leo?
I agree, and maybe I wasn't specific enough. I'm not advocating canceling anything at this point. I don't even know if they have submitted a request for approval yet, but I think we should definitely set an expectation that it might get canceled. I mean, I asked Chief Knight about it, and he says about 7,000 people come into town. I cannot imagine in early July, given the pace at which we're progressing, that we would want to encourage 7,000 or 5,000 or 3,000 people to come into town. But we don't need to make that decision today. I get the Chamber of Commerce newsletter, and they're continuing to encourage people to sign up and to plan. I'm a little concerned they're not setting an expectation that, you can go ahead and do that, but odds are that it will not be allowed by then.
Thank you, Councilmember Leo. Councilmember Naturkis?
No, I haven't.
Okay, thank you. So From what I don't think we need a vote on that, but we'll just reconvene with council on most of those issues, but maybe a roll call vote for extending the utility payment or a motion for extending the utility payment due dates to June 15th. So if I can get a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnston.
I'll second.
John Leo got to you first.
Yep, that's fine. I'll sit here quietly.
Motion.
Roll call.
John Cox,
Yes.
Matt McGarrett,
Yes.
CC Johnston,
Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
and Mike Naturkis.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And real quick, one thing, when we talk about maybe in May, the people from Keller, they're like with what Sperling's doing, what Elmer's is probably gonna have to do, what KRG is doing on a point. They're following CDC guidelines, certain criteria for them to work, safety checks every morning, temperature, stuff like that. So something to discuss at our meeting, again, if we go to loosen up some things, perhaps, depending on things, that'll be something that we should imply on. We're gonna let people go that they follow, a certain guide.
And just so you know, this is Kyle. I spoke with Mark Keller, and he said that he has those things in place already, that if it was to take effect, he was gonna have a nurse come in and work with his staff, so he's already ahead of it somewhat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
I think it's a good idea.
Great.
Thank you, Chief Knight. All right, hearing no other comments from the council on the agenda item A on COVID-19 updates. Hearing none, we'll go to agenda item B, which is the transient voting rates, discuss and approve. So really what happened here is in December, council approved transient rates based on the Harbor Commission's recommendations. At that time, we suspected that we thought Petoskey and other municipalities would be going up to rate I, which was a 50% increase from our Schedule E rate. In the end, Petoskey and other municipalities didn't go to I, they went to G, which is a 25% increase. So we went back to the Harbor Commission because we didn't want to be too much higher than our neighboring municipalities, but B, we don't know what kind of impact the coronavirus will have on summer boating. So it might be better just to bring down the transient rates. The Harbor Commission was unanimous in bringing it down from Schedule I to Schedule G, which would be a 25% increase. So I'm making a recommendation that the City Council accepts Schedule G instead of Schedule I. Mayor Bagheera, any comments?
I'm happy with the Harbor Commission's opinion.
Second that.
Councilmember Cups supports that. Councilmember Johnston?
I agree with Matt.
Councilmember Leo?
Agreed.
And Councilmember Naturkis?
I agree with Matt.
Great. Anyone on the phone that has any comments about agenda item B, transient voting rates? Anyone on chat? And I don't see any comments about that. I see some comments beforehand that I'll read that I didn't get to.
Oh, Michael's speaking on behalf of the chamber, so.
Yeah, on behalf of the chamber, Michael Kiernicki says we'll be sensitive to the promotion of future events. June 1st should be a key meeting for the summer. At Sales Keller Caretaking, we have employed an RN with a public health background to help us follow CDC guidelines. All right, thank you for those comments. Sorry I didn't get to them earlier. Back to the issue on hand. Is there a motion to adopt Schedule G for transient voting rates?
I'll make the motion to adopt Schedule G for the transient voting rates.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call.
John Leo,
Yes.
CC Johnston,
Yes.
Matt McGarrett,
Yes.
Mike Naturkis,
Yes.
John Cox.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Item 3C is the Assessors Annual Report. Assessor Jeff Grimm is here to give an overview of that report. Jeff, if you want to stand up and maybe get a little closer to talk.
Sure.
Yeah, so we can hear.
It's pretty straightforward. We did not have much of a change this year. The consumer price index, which was the adjustment of property taxes for this year, was 1.9%. That's a statewide number. That combined with the study done by the Equalization Department, we saw a small increase in both commercial property values and residential property values, which was indicated on those charts that were there. If you have any questions?
So I'll open it up to the mayor. Any questions on the assessor's report?
No, I read through it and everything looks good for this year, this report.
Thank you. Councilmember Cups?
The only question I had was the rates, the overall rates of everything that you had in there. I don't know if that was necessarily part of the report or if that was later down. It was just whether the rates hadn't been updated since 2007, I think it said, the last time there. So I just wondered how those rates.
The zoning report or
Was that in your report or was
that might have been the zoning report.
the zoning?
That's talking about the fees,
The next one.
the fee schedule. That's for the next
Oh,
report.
that's, yeah,
sorry.
that's later. No problem.
Councilmember Johnston, any questions on the assessor's report?
No, no questions.
Councilmember Leo
No, very comprehensive. Thank you.
and Councilmember Nachurkis.
No, I'm all set.
Okay, any member from the public have any, on the phone, have any questions or comments? Hearing none. Anyone on live chat on YouTube? I see no comments. No action is necessary for this. It's just an update. So we will move on to the zoning administrator's report. This is an annual report. We haven't, that we're required to do. This is our first time doing it, so we're this is our first report. So we have really nothing to compare it to from previous years. Going forward, we hope to have compare trends and stats.
New or just something we
It's
just
not
slipped
new.
through the cracks?
It's not new. I think we really, until now, haven't really had an actual zoning administrator that was, let's say, certified by the state. I don't know that that's a requirement. It was something that was just kind of done by someone in the office. If we go back to when Fred Gruder was here as the city manager, he took on that role. And it's just, as it's passed down from Fred to Tim to myself, it's become more of a full-time role. And with that, I've gone to several different classes. I actually now, through the MSU extension, am a certified zoning administrator. And going to a lot of these learning experiences, we found out more of these requirements through the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, with certain things that they show as best practices that we should be doing as a community. One, to keep the city council informed of what we're doing, but also then to share that with the community of, what changes we've done, what things we've done, what the typical behaviors are. I just looked at some other, there's no real requirement of this is what the zoning report has to contain. There were some suggestions from the class, and I looked at various other communities that have zoning administrator reports, such as Emmett County, and just kind of took some of the, the type of inclusion that they had in there to put in ours.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Just some quick highlights, like I mentioned, we had quite a nice meeting hosted by Emmett County with the MSU extension there, going over the, let's see, what the name of it here, the, the Citizen Planner Program. And I think a lot of the people, CC Johnson was at a meeting or two, John Leo was at a meeting or two, some people from Planning Commission, some people from the Zoning Board of Appeals were there, just kind of learning some overall items that are listed there. We also then, myself and Andrew Potter went to that MSU Extension Zoning Administrator Certificate Program, where we picked up a lot of other useful information. On the administrative stuff, what I've done is just kind of listed some of the, the number of types of permits that we had over the last year. I did not have the time to go back and correlate or some of the previous years, but as we go forward, I'll turn this more into a graph or a table where we can see that trend of how many permits we had last year, whether that's increasing or decreasing, and what that trend is showing based on, applicable issues that are going on in the community at the time. And then I just have a couple of goals here at the end. We did just start the master plan process. We've been working at the Planning Commission. We've started talking about those ideas, the review of the existing master plan. The Planning Commission has also been working with Margot and the board. I can't remember the name of the board.
The RRC, Redevelopment Ready Communities.
The Redevelopment Ready Community Program. So that's another program that Harbor Springs can get on board with, and people from that board are working with the Planning Commission on what implemented changes we can bring into that master plan process there. So other than that, I think that's what I have.
Thank you, Jeff. Mayor Bagheera, any comments or questions?
No comment.
Councilmember Cups?
No, thank you.
Councilmember Johnston?
No questions.
Councilmember Leo?
One question, under the section where it says warning letters issued 18, what were those warnings issued about?
That really varies. So it depends. Sometimes we will receive a complaint from a property owner in town or a neighbor of a situation that they make us aware of. As an example, I'll use at a previous city council meeting, we had somebody in the audience that brought to our attention a couple of boats and campers that were stored in improper places in people's yards. I then went out and canvassed a couple neighborhoods. Well, the city really just kind of drove around and looked to see what I could find. And then following up on that, reviewed the code, saw where the appropriate places to store those type of vehicles were, and then sent out a couple letters to property owners, informing them of what the proper procedures for where they can place recreational vehicles, boats, campers, trailers, things like that are. Usually the first step is just a simple warning letter, informing somebody of, you may be in violation of the zoning code. Here's what the zoning code says. A follow-up to that if they remain in non-compliance might be a follow-up letter. Ultimately it could culminate in something more serious. Typically it does not get that far. Typically after a letter and a phone call, we resolve most issues. It could also be something brought to our attention by myself, just canvassing throughout the city, looking for things. One of the things that we typically, in a normal summer, would get frequent calls about would be tall grass issues. We do have an ordinance in the code that requires people to mow their lawn a certain number of times per summer and not let the grass grow too tall. So that's something that, because we do get frequent calls about, I do go out and just do a canvas to see what I can find and send out warning letters, letting people know that we do have that ordinance in town. So mostly it's educational, letting people know of potential issues and that they may have practices that they need to change to be in compliance with the code.
Does that answer your question, Councilmember Leo?
It does, thank you. So most of those warning letters don't escalate into actionable items after that?
Yes.
No, they don't. Most of those letters don't escalate further beyond.
99.5% that letter is all it takes. Usually a follow-up for that is the property owner calling me, letting me know that they were unaware that that was a situation. And then I work with them to resolve that issue. And it usually within a week to 2 weeks, it's handled. Sometimes if it's a little bit more complicated, it might take more time, but generally speaking, that warning letter is all it takes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Leo. Councilmember Turkis, any questions or comments?
No, I don't have anything for Jeff, no.
Okay, then I'll open it up to the public. Anyone on the phone have any questions or comments about the zoning administrator report? Hearing none, I'll go to the YouTube channel, and I see no comments from anyone on the zoning administrator's report. No action is necessary. Jeff, thank you for the reports. And you expect similar reports next year with probably some more data and some more information. All right, moving on to agenda item 3E. This is going off of zoning, so this is zoning permit fee for storage buildings. I think, John Cups, this is where you were kind of getting at. We haven't had a rates, any new fees since 2007. So basically what happened here is we have an applicant came to the planning commission. They're building the Ward Wallstrom. They're building storage space, warehouse space on Hoyt Road where the old laundry building was. And they're going to apply for their permit for that. However, we have an exception or a statement in our fee schedule, which was last adopted August 21st, 2007, that states that it's 10 cents per square foot. However, that's for usable space only, not including indoor parking or warehouse space. So what I interpreted this to mean is if you're building a new commercial enterprise, you have offices, et cetera, and then you have some warehouse space, we're not going to charge you for that warehouse space, but it does not account for a building that's just going to be warehouse space. So right now, someone who wants to build a warehouse, they can build 10,000 square feet of warehouse space and not have to pay any fee. And that takes time, of course, and resources from the city to issue that permit, review that permit, et cetera. So I think this was just an oversight and was recommending to council that we pass a resolution passing a minimum fee of, in this case, $150 for a fee to for the company that permit application for warehouse space. We may want to look into that further down the road in more detail about figure out that fee. But for now, I think $150 is fair for the amount of time and resources we're putting in. So I'll open it up to Mayor Bagheera for any questions or comments first.
I think the new fee schedule is fine.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Cups?
I'd agree with that, but I think we should look at the entire fee schedule in general and bring it up to date.
I would add that we have at periods of time reviewed it, not necessarily brought it back to council, but just administratively reviewed to see if it was still accurate with the cost of things such as lot split applications. I know Tom and I a year or two ago had a good conversation if those fees were still accurate. We could put together something and bring it back to council if you'd like.
So I know like building permit fees, everything has gone up over the years. So it's been a while since we've looked at, at least see if we're still in the ballpark with things.
Yeah, it's been 13 years since we've changed anything, but we have discussed reviewing them, yes. Councilmember Johnston, any comments or questions?
No questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Leo?
In the memo from Jeff, it says we recommend adopting a minimum fee for non-residential permits as well. Is that one and the same, or is this a separate?
No, that's one and the same, right? Yeah, that's one and the same. Well, I guess it could be separate. The resolution that we attached here was specifically for warehouse storage. There may be another case that we can't think of where we don't know yet that someone applies for something and there's no fee schedule for it, and we'd have to come back and do this, but we just can't think of that situation right now with that, what that could be.
Okay. Well, then the memo suggests the minimum fee, but the resolution states a fixed fee of $150.
Yeah, so I went with the fixed fee. That's Jeff wrote me that minimum fee. I wasn't sure if we were ready to do a calculation of square footage, but I think that minimum also is the minimum fee we use for a residential, if I'm correct. Jeff?
Yeah, correct. My recommendation would be that we have this fee schedule. Most everything for commercial and residential buildings is based on that 10 cents per square foot. For residential buildings, we have a maximum for the fee and we have a minimum. The maximum is, I believe, $250. The minimum is $150. For commercial buildings, we have that same 10 cents per square foot. We have a maximum of $2,500, but there is no minimum. So because we have no minimum, it creates a situation Where with a warehouse structure, where we have that exemption for just usable space, not including warehouse. In this situation, the building is all warehouse, so there would be no fee. So my recommendation or request would be that we adopt a minimum fee for commercial buildings to be applied, so that we have that 10 cents per square foot with a maximum of 2,500 and a minimum of, and I think $150 would be fair.
Would we then remove that verbiage that's there that has the exclusion and get rid of that
In the resolution,
on that fee schedule?
On the fee schedule where it says, commercial buildings, there's that asterisk that says, 2,500 max of usable space, not including indoor parking or warehouse space. But we would say
Correct.
$2,500 max and then $150 minimum. But the 10 cents would still not apply to warehouse space.
But I think it should. I guess that's what my thing is. I think we should remove that, have our max and our minimum, and still have the 10 cents.
I think if you just change on your resolution page, because I think what John Leo mentioned is in this line, it says, therefore be it resolved that city council establishes a fee of $150 to accompany zoning permit applications for warehouse and storage buildings.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is we have a lot of warehouse storage space around here.
Right.
Never been charged.
Exactly.
I guess that's what I'm getting at. Not that we're gonna have too much more development in this aspect, but I don't think we should exclude parking and things like that.
And I think though that comes down to a different and kind of question about why we excluded warehouse from the warehouse space from the zoning schedule in the first place. And I'm not sure what the reason is. This obviously before I was here, but I think what we were coming up here for was that we didn't want someone to be able to apply for a zoning permit and have no fee whatsoever.
Right.
But if that's the discussion you want to have now, or we can come back as staff and look at something different for warehouse storage space in it, which is combined with some kind of commercial enterprise, so we can charge per square foot. I just don't think we've done that work yet to figure out because if someone's building 10,000 square feet I don't know. I don't think we've done that analysis yet.
All right, well, let's continue. Let's agree with the $150 thing, and then let's look at, for our May meeting then, a different fee schedule to give you some time where we can kind of discuss this and figure something out.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, thank you. Councilmember Leo, does that answer your question, or do you have anything else to say?
Well, my mind was along the lines of what John was just saying. I think having $150 minimum and then charging per square foot makes sense to me. If what you need right now is just plug this exception, as long as it's revisited along with the entirety of the fee structure that we can compare against what the market goes and make, that's fine. I agree with that.
Okay. Councilmember Nachurkis?
My main issue was that the resolution did not match what was being suggested by Chad.
Thank you. Councilmember Nachurkis?
Yeah, I like that. It's what John was saying about the different warehouses. I mean, it should be adjusted so that it goes up and down with that.
Okay.
I mean, there's not a lot of warehouses that are going to be built at this point, right? But if somebody wants to redo one or something like that, I think that should be in there.
Thank you. Councilmember Bagheera, anything to add?
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Cups?
No.
All right. Councilmember Johnston, anything to add?
I'm agreeable with what you've been discussing, yes.
Okay. Jeff, do you want to add anything to what the councilmember said, or you're fine with?
No, I think that's fine. We can look into it, and I think maybe even see if we can find out why that might have been that exclusion. And then see if we can find minutes from a previous meeting or something to explain that.
Yeah. Anyone from the public on the phone have anything to say or any questions or comments about this agenda item? Hearing none, any YouTube comments? And I don't see any. So I guess then we would need a motion to adopt this resolution with understanding storage space.
I'll make that motion. We accept this resolution and come back for further discussion in May.
I'll second the motion.
Oh,
First and a second. We'll do a roll call here.
CC Johnston,
CC Johnston.
Yes.
Yes. John Leo,
yes.
John Cups, Mike Katurkis,
Yes.
and Mayor Bagera.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, resolution has been adopted. We'll get that published, Nick. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Item agenda F. So this is the last agenda item on the city manager section. This was our Lakeshore Drive rebuild bid selection. We sent this bid out in two different bids technically. One was for the actual materials, and then one bid was for the actual work and service. And the reason for that is because the people providing the service didn't do don't produce materials. So we, for the first one, for the bids, for the materials, we had two bids come back. Well, first I should say we expected this project to cost $200,000. That's what we budgeted for it. So for materials, we got two bids, $15,000 about from Resco and about $12,000 from Power Line Supply. City staff is recommending that we adopt the lowest, which is Power Line. Those are both Michigan companies, I believe. So no local, but not one is really much closer than the other. So the third RFP was for the work. We had three bids, CC Power at about 127,000, Kent Power at 99,000, just under 100,000, I should say, and then Newkirk Electric just over 100,000. We had four staff members review and score the applications. We had city manager, city clerk, DPW director, and electric department supervisor. We evaluated the bids based on our purchase and procurement policy. Kent Power received the most points, and they were also the lowest by a little bit. And so we are recommending to council to award the bid for the actual work to Kent Power. The total cost of the project, if we go with Kent Power and Power Line Supply for the materials, would be $113,000, which is about $87,000 less than the city had budgeted for. And it's good news, according to our clerk.
Well.
So we need two separate motions, one for the materials and one for the.
I'll make a motion that we accept the material cost and Kent Power to do the work.
Two separate.
I'll second that.
Well, we did it as one.
Oh, do you need, I'm sorry.
I would do it as two separate, yeah.
Two separate? Okay.
Oh.
First motion will be to accept Power Line Supply for the materials.
I'll second that.
And I forgot to ask if there's any comments from any of the council members on this. So, any council member Johnston, any comments?
I just think it's whoopee that it's under what we've thought it might be.
Yeah. Council member Leo,
Good job.
thanks. I don't know if I get the credit for that, but I'll take it. Council member Natrikis.
Sounds great.
All right. Anyone from the public have any comments on the phone? Hearing none. No one on YouTube has any comments. So now we get back to our motion. There's a motion by John Cups to accept the materials bid by Power Line Supply and a second by Matt Bagera. We'll do a roll call.
yep. Mike Natarkis,
Aye.
John Leo,
Yes.
CC Johnston,
Yes.
Matt Bougera,
Yes.
and John Cops.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Then we'll need another motion to accept Kent Power's, the bid from Kent Power.
Make a motion that we accept Kent Power's bid at $99,834.55.
I'll second.
Motion by Mayor Bagera and a second by John Cups. CC Johnson,
Yes.
Mike Churkis,
Yes.
John Cups,
Yes.
John Leo,
Yes.
and Mayor Bagera.
Yes.
Motion carried. All right, thank you. We will get in touch with that, and then we'll let you know later when the project will begin. So we can go get rid of all this. Sorry, guys. All right. Finally, we move on to the manager's report. A lot of what I would have put in the manager report was put in the COVID-19 update. But I think just a few things here. We created a webpage dedicated to COVID-19 updates on our website. That's on the top of our website. As we said in our COVID updates, we had a Parks and Rec director and a police officer. And unfortunately, we had planned to kick off this month our online payments, but with the coronavirus paying us, we cannot get that. The vendors can't come in or do the work that they need to do. So we're still in communication with them, but it's likely will be probably sometime this summer or when the restrictions get lifted that we can transition to online payments. So we apologize for that, but it was kind of out of control that last few weeks there. Website, for some reason, probably due to the COVID, but website visits were significantly up. We had 10,000 unique visitors in the month of March, and that's almost double in January and February, and that's higher than any other month we've been keeping track of for the past year. So social media, we got a lot of new followers and likes, people paying attention to us, so that's good. We're reaching more of our public. The Harbor Commission had a meeting to discuss water levels, project updates, and I've been having several phone meetings with emergency officials, health officials, as Chief Knight, Chief Cups here, and others have been on some of these calls. Clerk Whitaker has been on his own calls dealing with auditing and other treasury-related stuff and elections. Which elections are, if Nick, can you really give a brief update about elections?
Yeah, just briefly, the state is still gonna bring out some more information to local clerks, but as of right now, the May 5th election is scheduled as planned with primarily absentee voting only. We will be available here at City Hall to assist people in voting who are unable to vote absentee, but we're just not quite sure yet from the state's guidelines how that's going to look. As of right now, every registered voter in the city has been sent an application for an absentee ballot by the State of Michigan Bureau of Elections, and we are getting quite a return on those votes. So there will be more updates as I get the total information, and then we'll get that out on the website as well.
Thank you, Clerk. And if I remember correctly, I know we talked a little bit about the audit. If you can just.
I have not know, the audit, since the city has a December 31st year end, the audit is due to the State of Michigan independent audit on June 30th. As of right now, we've not heard otherwise that they're going to extend those due dates. We're just going forward with planned as we're going to still have to have them due by June. But I'll keep you posted as more information comes. A lot depends on what the governor says here in April, end of April.
Thank you, Clerk Whitaker. Any council members have any comments to the city manager's report or to what Clerk Whitaker has said? Hearing none, I'll hand it over to Matt, the mayor. I don't think we have any boards and commissions. I didn't see any expiring terms coming up.
No, I think we're all set on our boards and commissions right now.
So,
If there's,
If I can say one thing at the end there.
sure.
This is Kyle, the chief, and I told our guys at the office, this is for everybody listening, that as this is moving forward, we're getting to feel more comfortable as far as in Emmett County, for those of you who don't know, we've flattened the curve. We're 11 days in a row of having 21 COVID tested positive, so that's a good thing. We've flattened the curve. Victor and myself and John, we listen to daily updates through the Emergency Operations Center. And the only thing I tell our officers is that we got to stay, even though we're still under the stay home, stay safe, that like the traffic in town from my patrollings went up probably 50% over the last week. And people are feeling more comfortable. And my analogies, it's almost like we're getting to the end of school where we're sort of relaxing a little bit, and include myself. And I catch myself doing the same thing, but just if everybody would continue to practice social distancing and also the sanitation thing, it's very important to make sure you sanitize, wash your hands, and when you go to the gas station, wherever it is, just be very aware, because I'd like to see, it's been, Victor and I talked today, we've been 11 days in a row at 21. And Otsego County, which isn't that far away from here, they increased 17 yesterday. So we're talking less than 50 miles, they went up 17, and we're staying even at 21. So just as a chief of police, I'd encourage everybody, we're not gonna stop anybody for out there. If you're driving around or anything like that, just practice your social distancing and make sure that you sanitize. That's it, thanks.
Thanks, Chief Knight, I
Thank you.
appreciate that. That's good words from the chief. Item agenda 6. City Council,
New
new world business.
I do not have any new or old business.
Councilmember Cups,
So,
Councilmember Johnston, any new or old business?
No?
Councilmember Leo, any new or old business?
Good. Does completion of the work, the water main replacement and widening of Third Street, is that on schedule to finish as planned?
That is on schedule to finish as planned, and as well as the Pennsylvania Avenue project started on today technically, and it should be done in 2 weeks. They're going to be an advanced schedule. So
I think the only hangup
Thank
might
you.
be is asphalt.
there may be an asphalt hangup, yeah, but they haven't conveyed that yet to us.
So, but the construction
Asphalt,
down there,
has-
John, everything is going very well.
The surface, John.
It's just the
Right,
asphalt
no, I
replacement,
walk by there.
maybe a problem.
I walk by there every day, and I mean, they're making great progress. I just didn't know whether we were still on schedule or not. And the issue with the asphalt is that the plans aren't up?
Correct.
Yep.
Wow. Oops.
Too cold.
Councilmember Nachurkis, anything to add for new or old business?
No, I'm all set. Boy, I sure do miss CC though, sitting with her, once a month.
Soon again. It'll happen one day. Maybe by council elections this fall, we'll get together again in
Yeah.
person.
Yep.
You got a new comment.
I do got one comment on YouTube from Margot DeMoose. Thank you to City Council and Crisis Action Team for all of your hard work to keep our community safe and running smoothly during this time. Thank you. And Michael Karnicki, well done all. Thank you all for this opportunity to engage and learn. We're all in this together. Cheers. Thank you, Michael. I'll just hand it over to the mayor for anything or to adjourn.
All right, I think if there's nothing else, we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for participating.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good evening.
Good night, gentlemen.
Good night. Thanks, Cece.
Yeah.
I think you're at the heart.